Hi Naga, hi Kirti, Amogh, Arpita. Thank you so much for joining our live. We'll just start in a couple of minutes. Yeah, okay. So, hello and welcome everyone to a new episode of PhD the Philosophical Drama Season 4. Till more people join the live, I would really like to thank all of you for consistently following our videos, joining our live, and if you really like what we are doing, please keep sharing our work, our videos, reels across so that we can reach more and more people and let more people know about our initiative. Yeah, so we have a couple of people live now. So without further delay, I would like to introduce our guest tonight. So, tonight's episode is really very special for me, and because I'm getting to talk to an old friend again. And yeah, so the guest tonight, he has a very unique journey of PhD. He actually did his PhD from IISER Pune, and his work was focused on understanding the biochemistry of lipid pathways in immune cells and neurons. And finishing his PhD, went ahead to carry on his research in FMP Berlin. But what's interesting about his story is that apart from his research, he has actively kept nurturing his passion and love for Indian classical music. And as many of you all already know, that he has been actively performing even through his PhD years on a professional level. And to top it all, he did a full fledged Netflix movie, Cobalt Blue. I'm sure all of you have watched it. And he was the protagonist himself, and he did it all during his PhD. So, without revealing more, I would like to have our guest, our superstar, Dr. Neelay Mehendale, in the live. And
Hi.
Hi. Yeah. All good. How are you doing,
All
Neelay?
good. Fantastic. And yeah, this is actually my first Instagram live that I've ever done. So thank you so much for the opportunity. And hi to everyone who has joined. Thank you for taking the time to attend this Insta live. So yeah, here we are.
Great, great. So let's get started with your story of PhD. So let's rewind a little bit and go back to the time where you were making the choice and the decision of starting a PhD. So tell us about how it was, like what was your motivation and how did you land up into doing a PhD?
Oh, well, I think that motivation comes from like a long, long time ago, I would say, because ever since I was in school, I was pretty sure that I didn't want to do anything related to engineering or any of the mainstream subjects that were there at that time. I always wanted to do something in biology and in particular genetics. That's what I used to keep telling my parents कि मुझे genetics करना है, genetics करना है. So this I carried this mindset through my college years as well, like my 11th and 12th. And then the most obvious path for me was to do a BSc and MSc in some kind of life science. So I did that, and then I thought, okay, I enjoy doing lab work because you never know what the future holds for you. So after having completed my MSc, I thought, okay, I enjoy doing research, I enjoy doing lab work, so why not do a PhD? So I thought to become to make a career in research, then a PhD would be really necessary. So that's why I thought I would pursue a PhD. And thank God I did.
Okay. So how was it like? So when you joined PhD and you started working in the lab
Mhm.
and the whole jazz, the whole reality comes in front of you. I mean, because all of us have this dream that okay, we'll do a PhD, but when you actually start doing a
Yeah.
PhD, it's different. So how was it like for you?
Well, I think many things were common to general graduate studies. I would say that, it's like a roller coaster. It has its own ups and downs. So I would say in that regard, mine was not very different because I had my own ups and downs. But for me, I think I had like a very luxurious PhD. I don't know if that word makes sense over here, but why I say luxurious is because I am from Pune and I live like 10 minutes away from IISER. And, that kind of already set me up to not worry about food and laundry and those kind of things. And I did not have to worry or take care of my survival, for lack of saying something better. It was all taken care of. So I could really focus on my research and then all the things that I was doing were pretty close to where I was living. My friends were there, my family was there, so I also had like a really strong support system. And I think mostly because of that, I had like a really nice swimming PhD. Of course, there were ups and downs in my research, and there were a few hiccups here and there. But I think something that ends well is all's well that ends well.
Right, right. So let us just like switch gears a little bit. We got to know about your PhD, but there's another side of you that's like who's really passionate about music. And did I just get disconnected? Okay, yeah. Am I
Just
audible
one
to you
second.
again?
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah. So, yeah. So my question is like, you, as I have seen, that you have been very passionate about music, and so, like, was it a way to, help your PhD, or is it like something that you had to manage, or how was it like carrying on your passion for music along with PhD, because that PhD is something that requires a lot of time and energy, and then doing something like music full-fledgedly alongside. So, how did it happen and how did you manage, and tell us about that?
Yeah, so yeah, you're pretty right with that. PhD does require full-time focus, and so does music. But music for me was, something that kind of was a drive from within. So I just thought, karna hi hai. So what would happen often is that I would finish all my work in the lab and I would go home and practice music, say at 10 p.m. or up to 2 or 3 a.m. in the morning. For that, I'm really thankful to my neighbors that they never complained. But yeah, it's like if there's a will, there is a way. And I know of so many people who had to like sideline all of their passions during their PhD because it's so time intensive, time consuming. Uh, but it was music that kind of kept me sane, I would say. It helped me decompress and take all the stress away from my work because to me, it's like a kind of meditation, if you can say so. Uh,
Right.
so when I'm doing music or when I'm singing, my entire focus is only on music and what I'm doing at that time. So of course, I forget about the sukh dukh of PhD life. And yeah, that's, I think I would I would even think about music giving my music like the secondary, what do you say, secondary placement, no, like the backseat. But I don't think that music would ever let me give it the backseat because I just keep getting drawn to it so much. So
Right.
yeah, it was like a big part for maintaining sanity during my PhD.
Yeah, no, but what you said is, doing the charcha or the riyaz on your own. But I have seen you performing and, actively doing shows, which takes time beyond, practicing or doing it yourself. So, doing that alongside PhD, because you have to give like full days of time for a show or for the preparation of a show, and managing that along with your work, because you did a full experimental lab work. So how did you, manage time or juggle between the two?
Um, so I think, I practiced music for the true essence of practicing music, and I think what you perform on stage or in a concert is like a very small part of what you really can do, and that's all dictated by how much you do practice and like, how much riyaz you do, how much music you practice. So I would say that singing in concerts is like should be like a byproduct of what you do. So if you are able to do a lot of riyaz, and if you're able to do a lot of if you dedicate time and efforts, energy into your music, then I think um, giving concerts is not that big of a challenge. Although, having said that, singing in concerts does require some different kind of preparation, but it's not. Uh, I would say it becomes easier if you have regular practice.
Right,
So I was always
right.
in touch with music. I was always practicing almost on a daily basis. Sometimes there were gaps, but I kept practicing. I did not lose touch with music. That kind of helped me perform as well, because then there's little effort that you need to put, like a little extra effort that you need to put for performing. If I were not practicing anything at all, then it would be really tough. But
Yeah,
because I just was very consistent with it, then that kind of helped me through.
right. So, like, as you said, like when you practice and when you, there are some times when you really cannot, allot hours or organize when you're doing music. And then I'm sure you would have had times when it has spilled over your, schedules and then overlapped with. So, suppose you practice till 3 in the morning and then next day you have to go and have an early meeting with your boss, say. So, did you have any such experience where you were, kind of struggling between the two, or things spilled over a little bit, and then how did you cope with all of that? Because I'm sure that has happened.
Yeah, it did happen. At times it did, because we sometimes did have meetings in the morning. And although I said that I did practice till 2 and 3 a.m., it wasn't the case every single time.
Yeah.
So I tried to manage my time such that I would get enough sleep, because you can't sing if you're not in good health. And if you're not in good health, you can't even work properly. You cannot focus properly. So I think that was really important to me, getting enough sleep. So whenever I had like morning meetings, it did happen a couple of times that maybe, I didn't reach on time or something like that. But otherwise, I think I managed my time pretty well. One thing that I would maybe say about this is that my social life was not that great when I would practice, because I would go home and then after lab I used to then go to the gym and then go home and then practice music, eat and sleep. That was my schedule for a vast number of days, I would say.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, because PhD itself is, sometimes it's a lonely job because you're
Yeah.
doing your own project, you're working, and then you're going working out, then you're doing your music, and then did this feeling of loneliness or, you know, too much of solitude is sometimes, disturbing. So did you have any of such feeling, or did you enjoy that? Like some people do enjoy it. So
Periods of
how was it?
solitude. Yeah, I mean, I kind of just. um Am I
Yeah,
frozen
yeah.
or are you frozen? Okay.
I
Okay.
don't know
So,
something. Yeah.
uh,
Yeah.
yeah, there used to be periods when I used to enjoy being by myself, and then there were times when I really wanted to like socialize with people. The good thing is, since I said all my friends were in Pune, they were like just a phone call away. So I could just go and meet to them, just hang out with them. And like something really, really important is that I had amazing colleagues. So everyone in the lab was just amazing. So when you have good friends and when you have good colleagues, it kind of helps you beat the stress without much effort.
Right, right. So, yeah, and whilst you were juggling between music and research, and then you went one step ahead into movies, right? So, how did it happen? Tell us about it. I think all of us want to know that.
Oh my God. Yeah. So I think this is the first time that I'm sharing a story regarding the movie anywhere on social media. So when I was in my second year of my PhD, there were discussions going on with someone regarding another movie before Cobalt Blue. But at that time, things happened such that, the time didn't match, and I was in the mindset that, okay, my PhD is like super important. I have to finish my work. So if I cannot make the movie around my schedule, my current schedule, then I'm not going to do it. So I kind of said, okay, I'm sorry, I don't have time. And then I never gave it any second thought because, I never did any kind of modeling. I never did any kind of acting, no theater experience, no drama. Ads भी नहीं किए, forget about TV ads, मेरा कोई poster भी नहीं लगा है. So I absolutely had zero experience, and I thought, ठीक है, that's maybe not something that I would do in the future. So I didn't give it another thought. But then when I was in my fourth year of PhD, I again got approached for another movie, which was Cobalt Blue. And at that time, I thought, "Arey, ye to second time ho raha hai." Opportunities like these don't knock on your door to begin with, and here this opportunity is knocking on my door for the second time. And maybe I should not give it an outright rejection. Maybe let's try. जितना होगा उतना देखते हैं कितना कर पाएंगे. So one thing led to another, and then I also gave like these auditions and all of that. So after like, I think 4 months after I was approached, I was finally given like the green signal that you were selected for the role. And I was really, really happy at that time. But the next thing that started giving me a lot of stress was that how am I going to manage it? Okay, I've gotten up till here, which I did not expect to. So how do I manage my PhD time, and how do I go for the shooting? So the shooting was supposed to happen sometime in 2020. Uh, yes, in 2020, early 2020. But then things happened, and then when the COVID and all of these things hit, the shooting got cancelled. So in the thick of my research, I did not have to go for the shooting. But then what happened is that there was this lockdown everywhere, and the labs were also not accessible. But at that time, in our lab, we had this system where only a few people could go to the lab at a particular time. I think that was like two people at a time. So these restrictions were still in place in IISER, but the production house kind of, there was this relaxed sort of COVID measures for films, also because they had to take a lot of care to make sure that they are not sources of super spreaders. So what ultimately happened is that the shootings were taking place, but I was not able to go to the lab. So for me, that was kind of a blessing because I could utilize that time to go for the movie shoot without missing any lab work as such. I mean, I did, I think, miss a few days here and there, but then I kind of made up for it later, and then it ended up being 14 hours of work continuously for 4 months. I don't know how I got the energy back then to do it, but yeah, it's like 14 to 15 hours minimum of work every day. And since I was the protagonist of the movie, I had like shootings every day. So every day was a busy day for me. And then after the shooting, when I got back, and then I thought, okay, I have to cover up whatever, whatever few days I have missed. Then I just like kept at it. The grind went going on, and then I actually finished work before the time that I anticipated that I would need. So yeah, for me,
So,
I think
so
that
that,
COVID was like a curse for a lot of people, but to
yeah,
me, it kind of was a boon in this aspect.
right. So like doing like overworking for the movie, did it like, give you more energy to, finish and wrap? Because you said you finished things before time as you had anticipated.
Mm-hmm.
Because you got used to working longer hours than usual, is it?
In the lab? Oh yeah, sure. Man, I think, because I stayed like a stone's throw away from the lab, I would work at really ungodly hours as well. I think most graduate students do that.
Yeah.
But it's like, I would be in the lab till 10 p.m. Then I would sometimes even go home, have dinner, and then come back, stay till 2 a.m. and something like that. So I wasn't used to like really odd hours of work. Sorry, I was used to odd hours of work, but uh, yeah, this was a different kind of work. So it had its own, mental capacity that you needed for it. So
Right, right.
once I set my mind to it, then I was like, "Karna hai na to karna hai." Like I cannot think of anything else. So in those 4 months, I did nothing other than work. Even my music had taken a backseat at that time, but it was just a period of 4 months, so I was okay with it.
Great, great. This all of this shows that you're just like, someone who can organize time and manage things insanely well. Because most of us, like, we just crib that there's so much to do in lab and we don't have time for. But I'm sure if, as you said, if there's a will, there's a way, and you can do a lot of things that as you did. Uh, but I think it's around the same time when the film released was also when you finished your PhD. I think it was around similar times, as far as I recall. So, like having completed both, and like, how did you feel after that whole stretch of madness that went? How was the like? How did you feel? And if I'm sure that after this whole period of working on your own, doing a PhD, which, as I said, is a single person job, and doing your music, and then doing this movie, and then getting exposed to this huge world of response, like your PhD and also the movie and everything. Like, was it too overwhelming? And like, how did it feel?
Oh wow. So 2021 was like a really big year for me, because first of all I completed my PhD, which was like a dream for like a very long time. I would say like 10 years or so since I started my bachelor's. I finished my PhD, and then the movie was about to get released. So the movie got released a little bit after I finished my PhD, but um, it kind of made up for all the struggles that I had to go through, all the hard work that was put in, all the days of exhaustion, all the days of mental drainage, I would say. It all makes sense later, because then now I have this PhD, also, which was, I would say, like pretty decent. I did manage to publish in good journals. And then there was this film, the whole film that came out on Netflix, and both of these things happened in quite close proximity to each other. But the one thing is for sure that since I have not been in this industry ever before this movie came out, like the showbiz, the popularity that came my way was something that I was not used to at all. So I would say, although it was like a really big year for me, it was also a bit overwhelming in a good way.
Right.
And yeah, I'm just happy. It felt unbelievable to me in retrospect that I was able to do all of these things. Even now I wonder, Are, how did I get so much energy to put in so much work? But yeah, as I said, at that time I had set my mind to it and nothing else mattered.
Right, right. And after all of this, you went ahead and continued research. So, like, what drove you? Did you ever think of taking a different path, or how did you again get yourself back to research and then actively doing research again? Because you went for a postdoc right after,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
whilst all of this was happening.
I think I didn't have to do anything different as such, because I'm again actively pursuing music right now. I just recently had my first concert in Berlin a month ago or so, and I think I'm not doing really differently as of now compared to what I was doing during my PhD. So there's research going on and there's music going on in parallel. And as far as acting is concerned, we will have to wait and find out what happens.
Okay. Great. Yeah, so now Neelay is doing PhD in music, and we'll find out more in
Ayo,
the
no, I'm not doing PhD in music.
no, as in like research and music, and then Dr. Neelay is doing active research and music, and then the
Ah,
other
okay.
part of it is something we are going to find out. Yeah, great. So it's really nice to, I think it was a very motivational and an inspiring story for many of us because, as I said, that it's not only just, managing to do different things, but the most important thing that I at least learned is that, drawing motivation from everything that you do and, uh, you know, just driving yourself ahead. So I think that's really important. And I think that gives you the energy to go beyond your limits and do what you want to do actually. So,
Yeah.
yeah, great. So now I will have a couple of rapid fire questions for you.
Actually, before you go to the rapid fire, I think one point that I did not talk about
Yeah,
during my PhD is that, I think you are very well aware that it's really stressful doing a PhD,
yeah,
and there are like several aspects that can give you stress in your PhD. You never know what it is. But then it is surprisingly uncommon to seek help during your PhD. And I think that is something that I kind of just the taboo is something that I shunned away, and I thought if I have to do all of these things that I'm doing, I have to get help to take care of all the mental stress that I have. And I did go and speak to a shrink, like a psychologist at that time, to get some help. And I think one more message that I would give to people is that don't shy away from seeking help. Because once your mind is clear, then you have the space and capacity to do a lot more than what you're doing while harboring all these stresses. So once you're stress free, then you're not only happier, but you can put more quality time into your work and you can follow your passion even better, I would say. So yeah,
right.
that's also something important that I did.
Thank you so much for, sharing this. I think it's really important, and it's one of the reasons why we are doing this show because we want to not talk about what we do in the lab,
Mm.
but how we do it and what else goes on other than what we are doing in the lab. And I think that's something that we are trying to address and, normalize. The reason of sharing all these stories is that so that people get to identify. And I really appreciate you coming forward and speaking about this
Mm.
because I think many of us even fail to identify that we need help. And if we do, it's really important that we seek it. And that's completely fine to do it. So that's really great. And thank you for sharing it. So yeah, so now with your permission, I would move into the rapid fire, where I'll have just a quick couple of questions where I expect you to answer briefly and quickly. So
Is it a one word answer?
no, not necessarily. It can be like something
Okay.
short, but it has to be. You cannot think.
Ayo,
Yeah,
okay. I regret this
yeah,
part, but okay. Let's do it.
yeah. So one reason for keeping on in research and staying in academia.
Sustenance.
Okay. So, if not research, music, or acting, what would have been an alternate career option for Neelay? Some hidden talent that we don't know about.
Oh my
You
God.
can't think. You
Maybe,
can't think.
maybe HR.
Oh, right. Okay. So, if you had to do either research or music, do only one and not do the other at all, what would you choose?
Music, hands down.
Okay. If you had to do your PhD again, would you do it in India or would you do it in Germany?
I would, I think I would do it in India.
Right.
And if it's in a place like IISER, then definitely.
Okay. And one word describing your PhD journey. This is a one word answer that you have to give.
One word answer. Oh my God, there are so many words that I can think of. Uh,
Say
Fortunate, I would say, because
right, right.
there were so many things that worked in my favor. And it's not very common to hear that everyone had like a really nice PhD and they enjoyed their PhD so much. So I think there were a lot more factors that came into play when I was doing my PhD. So it's all my support systems that I had, my friends, family, colleagues, everything. So I think I'm fortunate for having all of those. So I would say, and of course, the work that I was doing, I really liked it, and yeah, so I would say fortunate.
Great, great. Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing your story, and I'm so happy for having gotten this chance to speak to you after a really long time. And I'm not going to let you go before you sing two lines for all of us.
Now, okay.
Anything, anything you wish, anything you feel like. I cannot disappoint so many people out there. I think this is the highest, one of the most number of people that we have had on live. So
Okay.
let's not disappoint.
Okay. क्या गाऊं मैं? Off the top of my head, what can I think of? Okay. Hmm. Ah, ah, ah. तुम बिन कलना परे तुम बिन कलना परे श्याम कन्हाई श्याम कन्हाई तुम बिन कलना परे तुम बिन कलना परे तुम बिन कलना परे श्याम कन्हाई तुम बिन कलना परे कलना परे कलना परे हे
Wow, wow. Yeah, I cannot go to Berlin to listen to your concert, so I improvise it. Yeah, thank you so much,
Oh
and
my
thank you
God.
for being a support and doing this. Sorry, I didn't inform you earlier that you had to sing. This was
Super
the surprise.
Super Ustam. But no, I really, really enjoyed this. As I said, this was my like first Instagram live ever that I've done. And I think some of the things that I spoke to you were never spoken about in all the various kind of print interviews that I had.
Yeah,
So
because
yeah.
but they would have asked you all about your movie experience, but uh, I'm not sure if they know so much about your PhD,
Mhm.
right? Yeah. So yeah, thank you so much, Neelay, and yeah,
Thank
hope
you.
to see
Thank
you
you.
soon. And yeah, okay, take care.
And thank you everyone for taking the time out again. So yeah, take care all of you. And Sukanya, thank you so much for this.
Yeah, okay, bye bye, take
Bye
care.
bye. Bye everyone.
Yeah, thank you so much for joining everyone, and we'll be back again next week with another episode, the finale of PhD, the Philosophical Drama Season 4. Till then, stay tuned. Bye bye.